I love the mailbag segment, and I'm so happy it's back, Lisa. How about you?
Me too. I love it. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with a question, and we will answer it. We've gotten so much great feedback of people saying that they love the show and they like listening. They like our picks as well, which is really fun. But we've also gotten a lot of great questions. So keep sending them in. It can be about anything and everything, soccer, maybe even some not soccer if you're feeling that, but about things happening on the pitch, off the pitch, players, NWSL, US women's national team, European women's side, whatever you have questions about, I'm sure other people do. So ask them to us on Apple Podcasts and, we'll answer them, and they'll be maybe featured on our mailbag segment, maybe featured on social media. So ask away. We're here to answer all of your questions. And I do love them, Sandra. And sometimes we get to debate a little bit, but I'm pretty pumped for what we have lined up for this segment right now.
I am too. I love whenever anybody like engages with us and like we get these questions that come in, and we've gotten to a point where we've had to filter through them a little bit just because we get so many, and I love that they stem across like beyond NWSL. We've got people who want to ask stuff about our opinions and our thoughts on like U.S. Women's National Team, stuff that across the pond in the European side of the game. So I'm loving it. So keep them coming. And we're going to take 2 for this mailbag segment this week. This first one comes from Valentina de Virginia. And they say, love the podcast. Best place to get the latest news about NWSL and the U.S. Women's National Team. And their question states, for Hispanic Heritage Month, could y'all highlight some of the noteworthy Hispanic players in the leagues? And Valentina de Virginia, I would love to do that. let's do it. You're talking about NWSL and U.S. Women's National Team specifically. So in terms of NWSL, we are really lucky that there are some really great Latinas who are playing in the league right now. Most notably, I think at the top of my head is somebody like a Rocky Rodriguez, someone who has been in the league for quite some time, was a first-round draft pick for formerly Sky Blue FC, coming out of Penn State, and a Costa Rican international. So she's a Costa Rican international who has played with La Sele for really her whole life with the youth programs into now, but got her collegiate play here in the United States. So she is this wonderful kind of player to watch that sort of has all of this very smart tactical prowess on the ball, but is absolutely not someone who can be pushed off of it at the same time. And you love to see it when it comes to those type of players. So she's doing a lot of great stuff with Portland Thorns right now. There's been a great midfield pivot that we've seen at times with somebody like a Rocky Rodriguez alongside somebody like an Angela Salem, or sometimes if it's just been a direct sub for sub, same thing, but absolutely somebody that you want to pay attention to when they're on the pitch. I would also highlight right now somebody like Sofia Huerta, who identifies as Mexican American, somebody who has a long history as well with both international clubs or teams, with the Mexican women's national team and the United States women's national team, and she's turning it up right now in the league for OO Reign, now that she's getting some more time on that wing at the outside back position. And that's a player to maybe try to pay attention to right now, specifically because she is someone similar to Rocky Rodriguez, who has been in the league for quite some time, got drafted in 2015. And a big part of her career was primarily in an attacking sense on higher up the line. So whether it was in the top line, in the middle third, that is where people typically saw Sofia Huerta, whether she was playing for Chicago Red Stars formerly or Houston Dash formerly. But now with OO Reign, she's starting to get more time at the outside back position under Laura Harvey, and it is absolutely paying dividends for that team. And we're starting to see in this playoff push. So I think her story in particular is entering a very interesting next chapter for her, and I think that that's a player that people need to try to keep their eye on in this next phase of her career. How about you, Lizzie? You got anyone you want to shout out?
I mean, Sofia Huerta, I really love watching her and her evolution in this game and how she's gotten better. I want to shout out someone that the listeners may not know, Sabrina Flores. She's on Gotham FC. She gets some minutes. She's not a starter for them, but I follow her on social media, and I am just in love with her positivity and her energy that she brings and her support that she has for her teammates and everything that's happening on and off the pitch. She also does a lot of like individual trainings for players outside of her Gotham playing professionally. She's been a huge supporter of Carly Lloyd throughout these last few weeks and heading into Lloyd's retirement. But Flores is great. She interacts with fans. And when she does get on the pitch, she is energetic and all over the place. She slots into the midfield sometimes outside back. She can provide a lot. So she's another player that I know we highlighted some big ones in Rocky and in Sofia Huerta, but I do want to shine a light on some of the ones that don't get as many minutes, but still putting in so much work because, man, isn't that the truth when you're an athlete and you're just training and working so hard, but you're loving every single second of it. And you just want to be honored for that. So
No,
I love this question.
I love that you brought up Sabrina Flores. She's one of those, like, I think what we refer to as sort of kind of like meat and potato type of players in the league, like a player that will that maybe might not see the starting lineup week in and week out, but who is absolutely like essential to the makeup and chemistry of a team when it comes to being able to have a long, extended, and healthy bench for a team, and she's one of those options for Gotham FC for sure. And I love that you brought her up because we also love a plug. If people are interested in digging into investigation during the 2020 Challenge Cup at CBS Sports, we had a great one-on-one feature with Sabrina Flores, and that is still live, to my understanding, on the website. So if people are interested in her story and how it came about, she's a kid from New Jersey and has played all over the place and in Europe, and came back and found a home back in New Jersey with her current club. So people can go check it out and take a look at that if they're interested. But those are just a few. We can actually keep going. Contrary to popular belief, I know people think there maybe aren't a ton of Latin American players in NWSL, and maybe to some extent that rings true a little bit. But that's not to say that they don't exist at all. They do. And I want to thank you for the question and giving us an opportunity to answer a little bit. So maybe check out those players. And if anyone else has anyone else that they want us to highlight or take a look at, we can, you can let us know on Apple Podcasts with a 5-star review. Let's go to this next question, Lisa. This one comes from Felix Jr. I'm going to try to pay respect as I did to Valentina de Virginia, just in case you go by Felix instead of Felix. Felix, let's take a look at your question. Besides donating to the NWSL Players Association, what else can fans do to support the players at this time? Thank you. A great question, honestly, and one that we want to keep answering, not just on this mailbag segment, but what's some best advice that you can give, Lisa?
The best thing you can do is listen to the players and the players of the NWSL and the Players Association. They've really tried to be a united front, especially on social media, putting out their demands and what they're asking of the league, and which is what the Players Association wants you to know about them, is that they are one unit with one voice and one face. So the best thing that you can do is listen to them and support them financially, of course, yes, donating, but I think watching the games week in and week out and watching all the hard work they're putting in on the field, not just paying attention to them when they're in the big news headlines on the Today Show and things like that, but every single day paying attention to what these players are fighting for, what they're struggling with. Another platform that they're focusing on right now is no more side hustles, which is something else that everyone just needs to be aware of, that these players don't make enough, that they have to have multiple jobs just to support themselves. But I would say listening to them, watching them, paying attention to them after all these news stories dive down and they just have soccer, which is all they want to be focused on. Keep supporting them. Buy tickets to games in your market. Travel to games. Write a sign at the games and show your support for them. Show that you're listening, that you believe them. The supporter signs across the last few matches and few days of matches have been just tremendous, just letting the players know that we hear you and we stand with you. But those are the biggest things I think for me and the players would love is your support. Listen to them and believe them and spread the word. Tell everyone you know about what's happening and who these wonderful women are and these wonderful athletes and where they can watch them and how they can get tickets to them. But Sandra, for you, what do you think people could do?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it, Lisa. I think all you do is really, kind of echo that a little bit. I have to just echo and maybe rehash the listening part, because what we're witnessing right now from the Players Association specifically during this very, very crucial time in the league right now is that they are trying to utilize their platforms. So they are issuing messaging, they're issuing demands, they're putting all that forward. So yes, donating financially is probably the best and most direct way a fan can support the players at this time, of course. But the reality is that maybe that's not a possibility for everybody. That supporting financially might not be something that a person could do at this current stage in their life financially. So finding the other ways to do that. So re-emphasizing the aspect of, yes, donating. Maybe it doesn't have to be $50. Maybe it doesn't have to be $25. Maybe it could be $5 if that's something that you could spare. And even if that's not something you could spare, really take the time to go over, look, check their website, read their messaging, go to their socials, see what they're talking about, read what the demands that they are putting forth and what they would like to see for the league and themselves moving forward, and simply re-amplify that if you are able. I'm in agreement with Lisa that also extends to trying to support them on the pitch and on the field. And I know for a lot of people that's tough, that the concept of like giving money, like purchasing a ticket and going to a game, and how that sort of goes in the pockets of maybe the ownership, and how that can be a little bit backwards. But players have said that they want the support and they need that support right now in game and on the pitch. And that means if you're able, if you're local, buying a ticket to a game and going to a game and cheering for these players on the pitch, or standing with them in silence during their player demonstrations when they are pausing games in the 6th minute. And I would also extend all of these same things that Lisa and I are talking about right now, to the Black Women's Player Collective specifically as well. Because not everybody's experience in this league is singular or looks one kind of way. And for some players in this league, things like racialized moments have occurred and have happened. And it's also important to not forget those players and those narratives and those stories as well. So while people are also doing the effort to try to support, watch, and be there for the NWSL Players Association as a whole, I would also encourage them to try to extend that energy as well to the Black Women's Player Coalition if they have the means and the time to do so. So thank you, Felix. Thank you, Valentina de Virginia, for your questions today. They were dope. We enjoyed them a lot. We saw them and we couldn't wait to hop on to the episode and reintroduce the mailbag segment with these questions.